city of lights, how you shine so brightly.
Let's assume that you have a great idea for a business. You've got the money to start, you found a space that would be perfect to run your business out of. So you go down, you meet the landlord and strike a deal to use that space. Part of the deal is to go and get your own permits and licenses from the municipality so that you can operate your business legally from that space. Pretty easy, right? So you head down to your local government offices to get the permits and licenses that you need. Once you're there, though, you meet with a very serious-looking planner or development officer that tells you that your business actually isn't allowed in the space that you just signed a lease for. What just happened? What happened is that you just entered the planning process, which is an onerous and complicated process if you come unprepared. In the planning world, municipalities are broken down into zones, each with their own set of regulations. So depending on where the building you're looking at is located, it could fall into a zone that prohibits the business for a number of reasons. Maybe the building doesn't provide enough parking spaces, maybe the space is too big or too small, or maybe it's just straight up prohibited in that zone. The only way to know is to find out what zone the building falls under and to go check the local rule book for specific requirements. This rule book is of course called a zoning or a land use bylaw and is a legal document that governs development in a municipality. The zoning bylaw is very specific and detailed, and in order to get a permit to legally operate your great business, you'll have to meet all the regulations that the bylaw lays out that are applicable to the zone in which the building you're looking at is. As you're rage flipping through the part of the bylaw that pertains to the zone in which you want to open your business, you may wonder to yourself, what the heck do these mean? And who determines these specific regulations? Why isn't your business allowed in a particular zone, for example? So the way I was taught to think about the planning process is to think of it as a pyramid with 4 different levels. On the very top level is the zoning bylaw. It's specific to individual sites and has very detailed regulations for those sites. These regulations are determined by the other 3 levels, though. Level 2 is a plan that looks at things from a higher level, with less detailed regulations that are specific to a larger area rather than specific sites, like the zoning bylaw would. So depending on the municipality, this plan is called an area structure plan, area redevelopment plan, outline plan, neighborhood structure plan, secondary plan, but no matter what the official name is, though, it accomplishes the same thing, specifying the location and types of uses for an area. So where a zoning bylaw assigns zones to individual sites, area structure plans focus on geographical areas. So I'll explain this level in more detail in future videos, but for now, all you need to remember is that this plan determines what kinds of zones and regulations are applied to an area. This plan is also a legal bylaw, much in the same way that the zoning bylaw is. Like the zoning bylaw, though, this is a plan that's not created in isolation either. Rather, it follows a set of policies that are laid out in level 3. Level 3 is a big and complex document that sets a vision and associated regulations for an entire municipality. So most oftentimes it's referred to as a municipal development plan and is, as you guessed it, a legal bylaw. It's a very high-level document that doesn't only account for development regulations like in levels 1 and 2. Instead, it looks at everything a municipality wants to accomplish, things like employment, transportation, recreation, pretty much anything that affects how a municipality grows. And even the municipal development plan is not created in isolation. Enter level 4, which is a statutory document created at the provincial level. In Alberta, it's called a Municipal Government Act. In other provinces, it has other names, like the Planning Act, for example. At this level, the Act sets out all the procedures related to development. So think of it as a rule book for development rather than specific regulations. So for example, the amounts and types of public engagement that are required for specific developments. These rules are put in place by the provincial government and follow contemporary planning practices as well as both federal and provincial mandates. These rules do not change very often and they are very serious. You can now see the pyramid analogy in full view. The base of the pyramid is very broad and vague, and the higher up the pyramid you go, the more specific and detailed the requirements are. So using our example of the unpermitted business, you can now see that it can be disallowed for a number of reasons on a number of different levels. So it could be something as simple as a lack of parking spaces as prescribed in the zoning bylaw. It may not be allowed in an area as per the area structure plan. It might not fit the vision of the city as part of the municipal development plan, or the proper procedure might not have been followed that is outlined in the Municipal Government Act. The problem, in my opinion, is that everyone enters at the zoning bylaw level, level 1 on the pyramid, after all decisions from other levels have already been made and affect the regulations in the zoning bylaw. So that's why I like to think of the planning process as an iceberg. You really only see the part that's above water instead of the entire picture, even though you know that there's a lot more going on. you see that the regulations in the zoning bylaw are fairly refined and complete without getting a full picture of what went into their creation. So in future videos, I'll get into more detail about each level, including the ways in which the system can be beat. Until then, of course, get in touch with me and I'll help you through the process. This has been Ryan with Heinz Consulting. Thanks for watching.